everybody. Welcome to the very first ever Peace, People Ethically and Compassionately Engaging Family Story Time. My name is Deborah, and our story for today is And to Think That We Thought That We'd Never Be Friends by Marianne Hoberman and illustrated by Kevin Hawkes. I love this story. I love the message from this story and how it feels like it's so incredibly in line with the goal, the mission of people ethically and compassionately engaging. My own children are Hannah, Michael, and Alex, but they're not this little anymore. They're now 22, 18, and 17. And family story time was always a big deal in our house. In fact, I pulled this story out a couple of days ago, and I was in the kitchen looking through it, and my son Michael comes in, and he looks over and he says, "Hey, I remember that picture." And so we read the story again, and he said, "Hey, I remember that line." And so the amazing thing that happens with story that can impact us at such a deep level in a way that sometimes general discussion can't. From the time that he was very little, this rooted. It was kind of that little seed that grew, and even though he forgot the story, I didn't forget the story because I'm a big person, right? But even though he forgot the story, he was reminded of the story as it was reintroduced just a couple of days ago, and it was still in there. The message was still in there, and I know that as a person, this is part of his internal ethos. And I know that that's true for Hannah and Alex too. So for today, I want to share this story with you, and I hope that you enjoy it as much as I do. And to Think That We Thought That We'd Never Be Friends by Marianne Hoberman and illustrated by Kevin Hawkes. And a huge thank you to Marianne Hoberman and Kevin Hawkes for designing a story that has had such a positive impact on me and my family. All right, here we go. Let's get started. And to Think That We Thought That We'd Never Be Friends by Marianne Hoberman, illustrated by Kevin Hawkes. One day, we were playing outside in our yard when my brother got mad, and he pushed me so hard that I pushed him right back with all of my might, and quick as a wink, we were having a fight. We thwacked and we whacked and we walloped away, and we still might be fighting to this very day. Pinching and punching my brother and I, if only our sister had not happened by. She was sipping some soda pop out of a cup, and she said she would share it if we would make up. And since we were thirsty and tired and sore, we each took a drink and we ended our war. It's funny how quickly an argument ends, and to think that we thought that we'd never be friends. That night after supper, we turned on TV, but we couldn't agree on what show we should see. I wanted one and my sister another, and both of us hated the choice of our brother. And we probably all would be arguing yet if our dad hadn't come in and turned off the set. So we put on pajamas, curled up on his bed, and he read us a wonderful story instead. It's funny how quickly an argument ends, and to think that we thought that we'd never be friends. A day or two later, it wasn't much more. A great big new family moved in right next door. How many were in it, we couldn't quite tell, but they each played an instrument. Not very well. One played a tuba and one a bassoon. They practiced all morning and all afternoon. They practiced all evening and all through the night, and they kept us from sleeping, and that wasn't right. So we got out of bed with a hippity-hop, and we marched off together to beg them to stop. But when we arrived there, they asked us to play, and they did it so nicely that what could we say? I took a whistle, my sister a flute, and my brother a trumpet that gave a loud toot. My dad took a bugle, my mother a drum, and we all forgot totally why we had come. It's funny how quickly an argument ends. And to think that we thought that we'd never be friends. Then, all of a sudden, we heard a loud blare as a siren came wailing from out of thin air. A police car pulled over, out jumped the police, and they told us that we were disturbing the peace. And they said if we didn't stop playing that minute, they'd take us to jail and put all of us in it. My brother got red and my sister grew pale, and everyone trembled at going to jail. But my mother explained that the noise we had made was because we were practicing for a parade, and she said that the siren had sounded so grand that she hoped they would ride at the head of our band. It's funny how quickly an argument ends. Now all the police had turned into our friends. We marched down the street, and each person we passed loudly complained at our ear-splitting blast. They begged us to deaden our deafening din until we invited them all to join in. We offered them boxes and kettles and spoons, and once they were playing, they all changed their tunes. They all were so pleased by the music we made that they became part of our splendid parade. More and more people stepped right into place. More and more people kept up with our pace, strutting and striding and stamping their feet, marching in time to the drum's steady beat. Friends who had squabbled and even stopped talking settled their differences once they were walking, smiled at each other, and marched hand in hand, keeping the beat of our wonderful band. And then we could hardly believe what we saw. Dog and cat enemies marched paw in paw. And when our procession arrived at the zoo, lions and tigers joined in with us too. It's funny how quickly unfriendliness ends. And to think that we thought they could never be friends. Our music was magic, a magnet to all. As to a Pied Piper, they came at its call. And as we kept marching and tooting and drumming, the people kept coming and coming and coming. Hundreds and thousands came running to find us. Thousands and millions fell right in behind us. What a cacophony! What a commotion! Then, all of a sudden, we got to the ocean. We came to the place where the whole country ends, with hundreds and thousands and millions of friends. Oh, what could we do now? We started to fret. We couldn't keep marching without getting wet. Then, just as we all began turning around, we heard a most odd and unusual sound. It wasn't a moan and it wasn't a cry. It wasn't a groan and it wasn't a sigh. It was more like a hum, humming high up the scale. A whisper, a whistle, a whimper, a wail. A wail? No, a whale! Yes, 100 or more, and all of them swimming straight into the shore, singing their whale songs and grinning with glee. So we jumped on their backs and sailed straight out to sea. Sharks swam around us while baring their teeth. Stingrays kept rising from far underneath. But somehow, the songs and the music we played convinced them to join in our ocean parade. For music is magic. It soothes and it mends. And to think that we thought that we'd never be friends. We crossed the wide ocean and washed up on land, where people kept hearing the sound of our band. And even the ones who first came to protest soon were parading along with the rest. And it's hard to believe, but I swear it is true. By the time we were finished and finally through, and we'd all gotten back to the place we first played, the whole world was marching in one big parade. And before we disbanded and each went our way, we voted to march every year on that day, to march side by side with the friends we had made and the friends we'd made up with in one big parade. And from that day to this, that is just what we do. With the police siren blaring and the horns tooting too, with our pots and our pans and our trumpets and drums, and everyone comes. And this is our cheer every year when it ends. Forever and ever, we'll always be friends. And to think that we thought that we'd never be friends, by Mary Ann Hoberman and illustrated by Kevin Hawkes. Thank you so much for sharing this family story time with me. Again, my name is Deborah, and this is Peace, people ethically and compassionately engaging. And I hope that every so often we can get together and have some tea or some coffee or some water or some juice, and we can just share a story together and increase the hope that people really can ethically and compassionately engage. We won't always agree, and that's okay. I'm just grateful to share some time with you, to learn with you, and it's just good stuff. Like the sign says, sharing a random moment. And that's what I hope we can do from time to time. Thank you. Blessings. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.